Greetings! Welcome to my Tina guide tutorial. I'm Force of Nature representing top tier tips, and I welcome you to your prime spot for tips and tricks to help you level up at Dead or Alive 5. Alright, in this session we're going to be taking a look at the beautiful and very deadly Tina Armstrong. Alright, what is there to know about Tina? Okay, she is the daughter of superstar wrestler Bass Armstrong, and Tina herself has decided to follow in her father's footsteps and has become a female wrestling superstar herself. But for her, her ambitions stretch a little bit further than that. She wants to be like a movie star, wants to be like a giant celebrity. Hell, she's even thinking of wanting to be running for governor or even becoming like president of the United States. I mean, her ambitions know no bounds. Unfortunately, that's usually to the chagrin of her dad, who gets a little pissed off and thrown off by her kind of ambitions and all that. But yeah, that's Tina for you, and she's also like she's also a pretty flashy wrestler herself. Anyways, let's just go over her. Let's just go over her little overview of her from a kind of a gameplay standpoint. Alright, what is there to really know about Tina? Alright, in this game she's a grappler with, well, pretty good, decent striking ability. She has some of the names, so if she ends up like grabbing you during like if she ends up grabbing you while you're in the middle of like throwing out like a whiffed hold, then she can get like brutal damage on high counter for that. And also to complement that, she's got a decent Oki, so she's got some nice ground hit. So yeah, that's kind of her in a little bit in a small nutshell. Alright, what do you want to do with Tina? What you want to do with Tina is you want to try and set up situations where the opponent kind of feels, where the opponent kind of like panics and will end up throwing out like will end up whipping a hold or something like that. So I mean, because obviously if you end up whipping a hold, then you end up taking like really big damage from the throw. Like right there, that's just a throw on normal hit. But if I were to do it on like high counter, if I were to do that same throw, so right here is her half circle forward throw. You see, you get a much bigger chunk of damage. There, right there, that's one of her strongest throws right there. It does almost half life from just one throw. If the opponent were to whiff a hold and you end up getting that, you end up getting this throw and you end up doing like big damage. So as you could probably guess right there, that move right there is one of the kind of key tools that Tina uses for punishing holds. So I mean, so a big aspect of Tina's gameplay is kind of like making the opponent afraid of that move, because if they don't respect it, then they're losing 132 hit points of health. So, but basically, if the opponent is not really like respecting that move or anything like that, then obviously I mean basically one way to try and kind of set up situations where the opponent may want to respect that is you need to, well, first be able to like stun your opponent. So just take notes of like kind of moves that end up having a big stun, most commonly on like counter hits or anything like that. Because of course when the opponent is stunned, the only thing they can do is they can either try and stagger escape out of it, or they could try and like hold out of it. So even something simple like a counter hit 6 feet causes like can cause a pretty big stun. But of course, something like a 3P, or for Tina, or full crouch 3P can cause a pretty big stun. So generally any time when the opponent is putting a big stun, it's usually hard for them to just simply stagger out of it, because then if you end up like stunning someone, you can end up doing pokes and just then you can end up just like keep going down until you end up getting a knockdown. And like with Tina, she also does possess a strong ground throw, so you can even like kind of like pressure opponents on the ground, so stuff like that. So basically, that's kind of like two sides of Tina. I'll go over her striking ability like a little later, but just to know that the damage from her is generally going to end up being from throws or from like ground Oki based setups or any sort of like environmental damage. Like if you get the opponent like backed into like a corner, then she also can pressure pretty decently at a wall also. Alright, so basically, before you end up really doing anything with Tina, it's going to apply to any character. What I want you to do is go over to Tina's, check out her command training, and go through her combo challenge, just to familiarize yourself with her, well, number one, with her moves and her tool set, but also just to kind of get a feel for just the kind of the flow in the character, and also just to kind of like memorize her moves. The things I would want you to memorize are her different string variations, but also try and remember like as many of her kind of throws as you can, because I've looked through her list and she has like a huge amount. I mean, I'll end up showing you just a little kind of a move list in just a small bit, but before I go on, I just want to throw out a little disclaimer that if I end up saying anything, or I guess saying any kind of terms, and explaining anything that might seem a bit foreign to you, or you're like uncertain of something, or like if you're like, or you kind of go like, whoa, what is that? Then feel free to end up looking at some of my other guides to see if you can end up finding some answers to your kind of queries. Anyways, continuing on. Alright, once you're done and you feel comfortable going through her command training, her command list, and once you just completed her combo challenge, or even preferably more than once, then I want you to come back to the free training mode. And now what I want you to do when you're in this mode is turn on the move list. Alright, there's left, right, or both. Right would be Ayane, as you see right there. Left would be Tina, and both puts on both. But right now all we need is the left ones. So put on the left list. Right here, what you end up seeing, which I scroll with the right stick, is Tina's move list. This is all her strings and everything. Alright, so if you end up seeing a little blue T, these represent throws. If you end up seeing an H, these represent holds. So both of these kind of techniques are fairly big with Tina, with obviously throws being a pretty big thing. If you end up seeing a little OH next to it, that represents an offensive hold, which is also known as a catch throw, which means a throw that can catch strikes. So what an offensive hold does is it can go through the onset frames of an opponent's strike. I'll show these like a little later. I'll just go over her throw game like right now. Alright, for Tina, being a grappler, she has access to basically faster throws than most characters. What this means is that she has a 4-frame neutral throw and 6-frame, like a 6-frame punish throw. I'll just take off the counter, you don't need that right now. So this actually can come in like quite helpful. Like with right here, you can end up seeing her 4-frame throw ends up doing like 55 damage, which is really good for a throw that's well, at 4 frames it's completely unreactable. So, but the beauty about having throws this fast is that you can end up punishing moves on block that are as low. Like with a 4-frame throw, you can end up getting a free throw attempt on something that's as little as -5. With a 6-frame throw, you can get a guaranteed punish on stuff that's -7. So against a lot of different characters, like for instance, like an Ayane that spams like 6 BK, like a kind of which would normally be a semi-safe string event against almost any other character, but against grapplers like Tina, she can end up punishing that for free with her 60. So it ends up changing the battle strategy that some of her opponent character does, and if you can punish -7 moves consistently, you can actually end up limiting some of the techniques that opponents can do to you. Alright, but yeah, I mean, going through throws, you end up saw the move list earlier, and she's got a crap load of throws. But Generally, I mean, I'll just say straight up, you don't really need all of them. I mean, you only kind of need a few of them. I'll say that she has a lot of she has quite a few throws that end up having like I'll just show you right now, like multiple parts, like something like, let's see, not this one. Let's see. This one right here. This is a 6-4 T or forward back T. So this throw, for instance, has. Oh, did that throw? Well, that's another one, but this one right here has multiple parts. But for these kind of combo throws, the opponent can break them. So, I mean, yeah, if you actually complete them, you can get like really heavy damage for it. But by and large, with some of the throws that Tina has, I honestly wouldn't even really worry about the combo throws too much. The only one you might use would be like this one, because this one you can actually follow up to it, and I don't think the opponent has the ability to break it. But for any of the combo throws that the opponent can end up breaking out of, I honestly just wouldn't bother them. So what you do is focus on throws basically where the opponent can't break, because Tina does get enough throw damage that you can just get away just using her unbreakable throws. Like this one here, I think does like 75 on her half circle forward throw, does like 75 on like normal hits, so that'd be like around one. I think it's like 112 on high counter. I can just like check right now and show you. Oh shit, that's on counter, on high counter. So yeah, it's 93 on normal counter throw, which is if you grab someone during a sidestep, or if you beat out someone else's throw attempt. Yeah, so right there on high counter, if you were to use it against a hold attempt, you'd get 112 damage. So here, that's her second strongest throw. So now if I were to show you her strongest throw, here, right here, that's 82 damage on just normal hit. So if you were to hit it on high counter, look at that, you get a special animation for counter and high counter, and you get 132, which I end up showing you at the beginning. If you end up seeing 132 out of a 300 health bar, is a crap load of health. If you do that twice and your opponent's pretty much crippled. If I'm not mistaken, this throw might even have a wall. This throw might even have like a wall version too. Let's see if I think so. I'm pretty sure it does. I think it adds on like a extra like I think it adds on like an extra 10 damage on counter throw. Let me. I can't seem to get it right now, but anyways, all you need to know is that is a crap load of damage. So for punishing like holds attempts, I want you to use those two throws. This one right here is while rising 6-4 T, if I can just get it. Oh wow. Oh, not this one. So that's while rising 6-4 T. Crouch. Then you have to, while you're getting up, you end up pressing 6-4 T. So the input will almost seem like, well, the input is shown as you see, you either hold down 3 diagonal forward, or press 3-3, then you press 6-4 T. I mean, it's an as you can see, that's if you don't get the right time, and it can be a bit of an awkward input, but if you can get that down, then it can become really rewarding to punish. With holds with. But if you find that input awkward because of the crouch or full while rising the kind of full crouch motion, then just do half circle forward T, and right there you get a really powerful throw in itself, which ends up doing like as you saw, 112 damage on high counter. So those are two throws to focus on. For obviously you're going to need your neutral throw. See, for this you can use this for tick throwing, or basically if you just want like an unreactable throw attempt, or if someone does do something that's like -5 or -6 on your block, you can end up using that. But also, and another one I want you to be able to do on reaction is your forward throw. See, this one right here actually has 2 combo variations. Alright, this is forward throw, down throw, so 6T, 2T. And she also has forward throw, back throw, so 6T, 4T. Either option you could use is fine. I mean, just for easy memory, I usually just go for 4-4. I just go for 6T, 4T. So either one's fine. But the main thing is to get the follow up. So what you end up doing is you end up giving Tina 62 damage, 6 frame punish throw, which is really good. All right, if you want a couple go-to, like Tina actually has 8 frame throws, so you can use her 4T if you want. You get 68 damage, or her 4T, which gives her, I think, 72. Both of these are 8 frames, so that means you can punish stuff that's like -10 on block. So I mean, only grapplers have throws at around 8 frames, so that is actually pretty cool. That is pretty neat. I mean, the thing I don't mind about 4T is because the follow-up is not breakable, so you can, it's not really that hard to time either. So you basically can kind of throw with that reasonably reliable. But if you just want to switch sides or something, you can end up doing 4T. So like, either option's fine though. I mean, with Tina, a good thing to do is just kind of tinker around with the throws and see which ones you feel comfortable with. So what you want to do is balance out kind of risk-reward, kind of like how consistently you can do the throw on reaction, and how much like output you get from it, like how much damage or like whatever. If you wanted to, if you end up doing an incomplete 4T, you could still get a free 4K if you want, because you're at +11 plus back turn. So what that means is that the opponent is at what would be the equivalent of -16, because it takes 5 frames to turn around. So you could just do an empty. You could just do an empty 4-4-2 if you so please, and get a free 4K. Then try and maintain and try and get a bit of a mix-up going on your opponent. Even though, I mean, for me, I honestly would probably just take the damage anyway. So, but it is nice to have options. All right, another thing also to pay attention to with Tina are her offensive holds. So I said like catch throws earlier, anything with the little OH. The most common one you're going to be using is her forward throw, which is kind of a go-to offensive hold for most characters. As you see right here in the details, it's 16 frames. It does 42 damage on normal hold, normal hit. If you end up hitting it, for instance, on high counters, which is beating out a strike, you end up getting 63 damage, which is actually pretty decent. Another offensive hold, which is another offensive hold, which I actually find is kind of neat, I think, is 4-6T. So this one right here, it leads. Alright, I'll just take off the high counter. Alright, it leads into a combo situation where if you end up getting a follow-up, then you end up getting like a full 80 damage on normal hit. Oh, what do I do? Yeah, this is something you have to kind of like practice a bit to get down, because it is a breakable hold. But the thing I like about this is it's similar to Mila's takedown, where it ends up crouching down. So, and at 23 frames, it's only really reactable if the opponent's either really defensive or if they're like looking out for it. But being an offensive hold, if you know the opponent's gonna like throw it a high or something, or a slow move, you can use this to beat it out. Aside from those two offensive holds, Tina also has a crouching one with her 3T. So the 3Ts are usually reasonably fast offensive holds. Like right here, it's a 10 frame one, so you can. It's always nice to have a way just to deal with like crouch, which basically moves that leave the opponent in like a full crouch kind of situation. So that's pretty neat. Alright, for other throws to also like keep note of, Tina does have a really good run and throw, her Shining Wizard. Despite looking really badass, this is a if you are approaching an opponent that is probably afraid of, like, I don't know, getting hit by that or something, you can actually respect in your space and everything. You can try and sneak in like a run-in T. Other throws that Tina has, I mean, another one to show her kind of ones from like her like back turn stance. She has right here a back turn T. She has a jump and offensive hold. Right there, I mean, they do okay damage. Like that one, like this, I mean, it's kind of, it's a little sneaky though. So if you are back turning an opponent, like you do like a 4K and the opponent like whips a hold, you do have a throw to be able to punish it with. I mean, the offensive hold, you may not end up hitting that as often, but it is still an option. He's got one from forward facing also. Take note that Tina does, on top of having a crouching offensive hold, she has 2 crouching throws. Alright, she's got her 2T. And both of these throws do have follow-ups, which are just inputted, I think, just by doing 2T again. See, right here it's a 3-3-T, so she's got her 2-part throw with her 2T and her 3-3-T. I usually just recommend just going, usually tend to prefer just a 3-3-T. I mean, why not, as opposed to just going for a breakable throw. That right there is her, this is her offensive hold. So that's what the animation looks like. Offensive hold throws don't do as much damage as normal throws, but their ability to beat out strikes does make them quite handy in some situations. The number one time to actually probably use something like that is if someone uses like a crouching stance move, like Christie's or Kyle, or like Damon's tank wheel, tank roll move. Alright, so other things also to keep note with Tina is that she actually has what are called string throws, or on-hit throws. Alright, something like this, if you end up doing an attack, you end up seeing like the combo throw. You can end up, if you put the throw button right as you see combo throw, then you get a free additional hit. I mean, yeah, they are pretty neat. So I mean, you can get like I said, you get a little like extra damage. You can get down the time, and I know something like that is a lot more common in DF, but it is a neat little attribute that Tina has. She also has a throw from her side step too. It could seem a little gimmicky at times, but again, for people that are probably being defensive to Tina, which it would be kind of surprising considering that Tina can actually have some challenges with opponents that have like really good pressure. So I mean, yeah, so that move might be a little trickier to utilize, but still nice to be able to sneak in a throw, and you feel like a badass when you actually do end up hitting it. So yeah. Anyways, just go on just a little bit, just to let you know right now. I mean, yeah, I'm just dumping a whole lot of throws on you guys, but Tina also has air throws. I mean, most characters generally that have an air throw usually only has one. Tina actually has like 3. She has, if you just input the throw button while an opponent is airborne, you can get the normal throw. If you press back and throw, then you get one where Tina tosses them behind you. And if you press half circle forward, then you can get one where the opponent is you can get one where she ends up kind of like whipping the opponent forward. So let's see. Let me try again. Input's just not working for me today. Alright, this is the last one. It's actually an 8-frame air throw as opposed to the 5-frame air throw. So what that means is that the half circle forward one, the half circle forward throw ends up coming out 3 frames slower. So you usually have to do it when the opponent's at a higher launch height. Well, it's basically as opposed to just doing like a normal 5 frame. So for the big swing one you would do, the opponent has to be at a higher launch, and you would end up getting 8 damage more than the normal neutral throw against an airborne opponent. And for her 4T against airborne opponent, she'd end up with getting well, for instance, her standard one would do 26 damage. Her airborne 4T would end up doing like 30 damage, and the kind of half circle one would end up getting 35 damage. So yeah, so there's a bit of a, so if you have a chance to get off the half circle throw, air throw, then just go for that one. All right, and now to continue on with throws, Tina also has ground throws. So anytime you get a hard knockdown with something like a 6H plus K, you can get press 2T or down T, and you get a free throw. Off of this setup in particular, this is always guaranteed. You can work it off of like, so if you end up getting like a KK or PKK, just do 6H plus K and down T, so that's like a small setup you can like work with. So the nice thing about the ground throws is it encourages opponents to end up tech rolling. So what that means is that if an opponent ends up performing a tech roll, they can't wake up kick you. So if you can end up getting an opponent to tech roll on you regularly, then you'll end up being at frame advantage. Then you can usually end up pressure them instead of always going for the ground throw. So it creates a different mind game for characters that don't have ground throws. Another thing also I'll just show you right now is after like certain knockdowns, you don't necessarily have to go for the ground throw. You can also go through a few of Tina's force techs. Like I can just show them right now. She has her full crouch 3P, 6H plus K, 8P, or like P plus K. The more common ones you're probably going to use is like full crouch 3P or 8P. 6H plus K is okay too. Full crouch 3P is the fastest if you want to keep in mind. So that one will get quite a bit of usage. So you have choice for like ground throws or force tech attacks or force get-ups. So I mean, yeah, you do get some option for ground hits with Tina. Those were just a few of them. There's probably other moves too, also like a 1K that can also like hit grounded. So I mean, you can take a look at those things. Alright, now I'm just going to be going on to Tina's hold game. I mean, to go along with all those powerful throws she has, her holds actually are pretty darn strong too. What I want you to do is pay attention to any of the holds that end up having follow-ups. Like I can show you here again with the move listing. As I scroll down, you see some of the holds here end up having a little dot, which ends up meaning that there's a follow-up to the action. So right here, her high kick, if I were to show you her high kick hold, see right there, it has a two-part action that ends up leading into what looks like a Texas cloverleaf, so that's actually pretty neat. Alright, her mid-kick hold, if I'm not mistaken, has a follow-up. Also inputted with 2T. Tina also has 2 expert holds, an expert mid-kick hold, which leaves her, I think, at about plus 11 or plus 10. Which, after this, you can get in a free... I just have to just check to make sure, but I think off that one you can get a free 4T. Although I think for this one I might be... Oh no, it's only plus 10, so... With that, actually, it's a 4-4T throw to this. For this one, you just get a mix-up opportunity, so you usually can get a good chance to try and sneak in an offensive fold after this. So right there, her 6-6T, as you see, her offense is 16 frames, so the opponent can't react to it. So you can also just like poke at the opponent if they're gonna try and like duck your offensive hold or anything. So you end up getting a really small kind of 50-50 situation. Also, some of her holds can cause environmental damage. Well, even though you have to be like right at the wall. See right there, so you can get like big damage for that too. So her holds actually are pretty strong. Alright, now just going to finally move on to Tina's striking game. Alright, I'm going to start off with close range, just to let you know what Tina's rocking. Alright, she's rocking an 11 frame jab that does 11 damage, 0 on hit. She's got a 13 frame 6P, 14 frame 2P, 14 frame mid kick with 4K, and she technically has a 12 frame mid punch from crouch or full crouch 3P. So yeah, those are the general speed she's working with. 14 frame high kick. All right, so with Tina, generally what you want to try and do is see if you can find some sort of way to get opponents to like to whiff holds, to try and get them to bait holds. Like Tina has some kind of cheesy ways, like you could try with her 2 KKK string, even though I admit stuff like this is not necessarily the best things for competent opponents, or like 7 PPP, but there are like kind of like options. I mean, if you end up using them like fairly sparingly, then like you just end up doing like the first 2 hits or something, then you can kind of get some opponents to try and whiff a hold or something like that. But under most circumstances, those ones are just probably just for example strings, and they can easily become gimmicks. Strings I actually do kind of like using is like her stuff like 4PP, 6PP, well, stuff like 6PP or like 6-6PP, because these strings do have a bit more variation. Right here, because it was 6PP, you can end it with a mid or low. They are delayable too. 4PP, I mean, something like that. I mean, you can poke with it, even though it only has like a chargeable follow-up. But yeah, those are things you can use to poke. I do kind of like how there's a sneaky low off of like 6-6PP. Got like a drop kick there, which I think is a guard break on block. You got a launcher. Like whenever you launch the opponent, you can almost always get a free air throw attempt if you don't necessarily want to go for a juggle. Although for most juggle opportunities, I usually like going for 6 PP. I usually like going for 6 PPP. And you get a free ground throw attempt. But yeah, just I mean, those strings I do find are better strings to poke with. You can also use like PPK, which is also pretty good. All right, as for kind of high crushes, because if an opponent's pressuring you, especially if they're pressuring you a lot with highs, Tina relies on this move a fair bit to try and like relieve pressure a bit. So for high crushes, you can use 1P. It's a 15 frame low. It is negative on hits, but on counter hit, you get a fair bit of advantage. If you know an opponent's using a high for sure, you can go for 1K, which always gives a either a trip stun or I think a knockdown on counter hit. Tina also does have a roll with her, ends up with a move that looks like her 6H plus K. This one -4 if blocked, whereas a raw 6H plus K is actually like -9 on block. So only the roll-in version is safe, so yeah, if you know an opponent's gonna do a high, then you can try and sneak that in. She also has a punch option, which looks like her P plus K. Yeah, as for low crushes, of course, got her 6H plus K. It's right here, get your nice little hard knockdown, get your free throw. 4K, which also happens to probably be one of Tina's best moves overall. Looks similar to Lisa's 3K4. This right here does have jump property, so yes, you can use this against lows. Best way for Tina to enter her back turn stance, where you can kind of poke people with her back turn 7K. So yeah, 4K, also good low crush. And you can also use her 8K, which is this is actually a pretty good guard break. Like, I think it's like a +6 guard break. This attack, I think, despite jumping up high, I think it hits mid. Yeah, it's a mid. It is a mid. Well, I mean, or mid low crush, mid jumping move, mid guard break. So that's good. All right, I can actually just show you some of her guard breaks right now. All right, a common one you're going to be sneaking if the opponent's being overly defensive. Just go for 8K. See, I'll show you like some frames right here. So right there, +6. You have I think this input is 4-6P, gives you +1. You can also see the speed of the moves there in the box. She has a high kick with 7K, gives her +9. Moves 27 frames, so it's not exactly the fastest thing. I think she also has guard breaks with like 4P plus K. Fortunately, it doesn't leave her at any sort of advantage, but she's a back turn version 2 with just P plus K from back turn. Gives her +5. I know it looks like the same animation, but this move does end up giving her like, well, varying animation dependent on either stance or kind of like range that you end up getting the move blocked. So, but either way, like you see, you're getting like at least about from like +2 to like as you saw, like a little +5 earlier. And another guard break you can try, even though it's harder to try and get advantage, would be like her, like from further out, is like her 6P plus K. Like right there, it ends up getting neutral. Like it's another move where it's the frames vary dependent on where you hit it from. But yeah, but for this one would be, you could use it as a bit of a get-in move if you suspect the opponent's not exactly looking for it. But yeah, you do have to hit it from pretty far out to be able to get any sort of advantage. Like right there, you get +3 if you use it from pretty far out. So yeah, that is an option, but I actually do recommend being careful with that move because it can become telegraphed pretty easily. But just to let you know, like, that it is a ranged advantage move. Anyways, I'm just going to be moving on to mid to long range now. Alright, for attacks to poke with from like mid to long range, I'd just say for one of her best pokes is 4K. She also can get that kick off of her 6BK. So these moves are good. Also use like 3K. If you do want to get in, then I recommend either doing 6K, which is only -7 on block, or her 6PP string. You don't have to finish it when you get in. Just do like 6PP, and if you think your opponent's gonna mash a jab or something, then just sneak in the low. If you actually do get a knockdown, then you get a free ground throw too. So yeah, that is actually a really good string with the Tina. I think she even got an unblockable off that move too with her, yeah, 6PP plus K. Yeah, I mean, that's enough. If you want more gimmicks, there you go. Gimmicky unblockable highs. I also showed earlier, for getting in, you can try 6PP plus K. Like, this move goes really friggin' far. Like, this is like probably one of the longest reaching moves in the game that's not a projectile. Look at that, it reaches like, wow, like over 4 meters. I mean, that's just That's actually pretty crazy, but yeah, I mean, Tina's has got that dangerous booty. Alright, now just gonna show Tina at wall right now. Alright, most recommended moves for wall slamming: 6-6K, H plus K, and I think from counter status, use 3K, neutral K, so but 6-6K is probably the biggest recommended. You can also try 4-6P, even though that move has a bit more recovery, so I'm not a huge fan of it. But with 6-6K after that, do 6-6 PPK as your wall juggle. And right there you get decent damage for doing that. Alright, just do a critical burst juggle. I actually showed you it earlier, but I'll just do it again anyway. Alright, right there after I did the critical burst. After you get your critical burst, what you end up doing is I just launch with 9K, do 6 PP, 6K, then do the half circle forward throw. As you can guess, the hardest part to hit is getting down the 8-frame throw. If you want an easier one, then you can kind of go for one of the other throws. And just do 4T, which hits really consistently, because I mean, getting down that half circle throw input, I mean, during the whole string can be like a little tricky if you're just like getting used to Tina or anything. So really, you could just go for the air 4T, and that's usually pretty good. Anyways, that is it for now. All right, just to let you know some things to practice with Tina. Generally, just basically getting really comfortable with her different kind of throws. So practice her while rising 6-4T, so that big ass throw that ends up getting 132 on high counter. You could practice trying to get down the timing on her 4-6T offensive hold for the half circle forward. I mean, I was derping with that like a little earlier, but if you can just get it down smoothly, then it become quite effective, because that is the only combo throw that the only breakable combo throw that I really like recommend you get down with Tina. All other things you can practice is looking for setups where you can try and set up force techs or ground throws. Like for instance, I'll let you know her 8P could slam down the opponent for like a free ground throw. So I mean, apart from some of the other moves that I showed you, so you can take a look at that. Use full crouch 3P for which will generally be your go-to force tech. So that's other stuff that you can end up looking at. Also, you can also practice as getting down any of her holds that require a follow-up. So you can look at those too, like high kick or her mid kick, or she also has an expert high punch hold, which has a follow-up too. I know I ended forgot to show you it, but I'll just let you know that you just have to press the hold button a second time for the follow-up on that hold. But yeah. But that's it for now. Just want to know if you have any questions about anything pertaining to this guide or anything that I've gone over, be sure to check out freestepdodge.com and look for Force of Nature. You can also contact me on my YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. And also be sure just to take a look at some of my other guides, just to get a bit of an overview of the cast, and just to like familiarize yourself with different characters, and just let me know if there's a character that you would like to see in the future, like if your favorite hasn't been done yet. So it's yeah, let me know what's up. Anyways, this is Force of Nature signing off. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Top Tier Tips.